There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Learn, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Yes, hello, welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy and thrilled as always to be here with Joe Stanley and Luke Hines. Welcome, guys.
G'day, guys.
So
And
nice to see you, Hines.
Very special welcome to the couch today. Someone guaranteed to put a bit extra heart in the show and help us all breathe a little easier. Welcome to Dr. Nikki Stamp. Hello, Nikki.
Hi, everybody.
Now, Nikki,
welcome.
You are a cardiothoracic surgeon, which is a heart and lung specialist, of course, but you're also the author of a book which asks the big question, can you die of a broken heart?
Yes, but there are a few sort of, caveats on that. So not everybody who has a broken heart will die of a broken heart, thankfully, because I'm sure we've all been there.
Relieved to hear that.
But you feel like it, right? Yes. Totally feel like it. But there are a few people who are unlucky enough during those stressful periods that they will have health problems, and particularly in older people. We hear those stories where someone passes away not long after their spouse has, 50 years. Those people are a little bit at risk. But nonetheless, any stressful period that we all go through, healthy as we are, you can actually have some physical side effects. So it's important to take care of your broken heart, but your broken body as well during those tough times.
I tell you, you are a wealth of knowledge. You've written 2 books, but you're also a mentor for other female surgeons. And I think mentoring is amazing, but why is it particularly important for female surgeons?
Well, I think we all know that you can't be what you can't see, right? You need to have someone sort of showing you the way, just being visible. And so for me, it is really important to get women into these positions where we don't normally see women. And unfortunately in surgery, that's one of those places. Only 12% of surgeons in this country are female, which it definitely needs to change. Not nearly enough, no. So it is something I'm really passionate about, and I hope that, just by being in a situation like this, that, a little girl sees me and says, one day I want to grow up and be like her.
Oh my God, I couldn't love you enough.
Not too late for you either, Joe.
It is too late for me.
I
don't know my times tables, so probably no.
So we've got a bumper show coming up, profile on one of the superstars of the AFLW. And Hinesy, the tables are turned on one of our great mates here on the House of Wellness, Gus Wallen.
That's exactly right. So I met Gus for the first time working on the show last year. He sat here in the couch and he's such a kind and giving guy. Now, he devotes his life to caring for everyone else. So this time it's his turn to receive some wellness TLC.
Oh, plus we're all about relationships, given it's February, so it's the month of red for heart research and, of course, Valentine's. So a leading relationship expert's coming in to answer that eternal question, what is love?
Well, that is a big question, Joe. But today's show is all about the heart, kicking off with the Heart Research Month, which aims to raise awareness about the impact heart disease has on families and communities and the importance of life-saving research. Nikki, obviously this is an area you feel pretty strongly about.
Yeah, obviously, look, it's my day job. I'm a heart researcher myself. I'm a PhD candidate. I'm trying to work out how we can better look after our hearts. But we really need to understand that heart disease is a leading cause of death, and for some people, disability in our community. It is preventable to a degree, so anything that we can do to improve our health and our quality of life is very, very important.
Yeah, and of course, one of the best ways to look after your heart and your lung is to either quit smoking or don't start to begin with, Nikki. So thankfully, rates have gone down, but we're always looking for that to improve.
Yeah, in Australia we have, some of the best public health messages around smoking and not starting or being able to quit. So we're really fortunate here. There is absolutely room for improvement, and one of the areas that we see we can definitely do better is with young women. Rates are a little bit stagnant there, but like I said, I think every little step that we've done in this country has really shown proven benefits in smoking cessation and not starting. So we should keep fighting the good fight.
You're absolutely right, Nikki. Now, everyone knows quitting has huge benefits to a person's health, and we've seen so many campaigns, from realistic to quirky to shocking. And frankly, I can't believe people still do it, because some of the ads are just so powerful. But the thing is, like any addiction, it is the hardest thing in the world to just stop. You can't sugarcoat it, but if you do, you'll be a whole new person.
Sick of being preached to about giving up the smokes? Suck it up and inhale the good news. Life without nicotine is great. Flare those nostrils and breathe in some fresh air. Ashtray breath is a thing of the past. Stinky clothes, be gone. Taste buds, they're back. And where's that early morning cough? Let's face it, you've forgotten what being well feels like. The catch? Withdrawals, big time. Cravings, hunger pangs, sore throat, tired and grumpy, headaches, lack of focus. Addiction has its price. Are you ready to kick it for good? Just quit.
Up next, Heinzie cracks the whip on one of our favourite Aussies with a giant heart, Gus Worland. Welcome back. One of the great supporters of the show who we love is a great friend of ours, is Gus Worland. Joe?
Yes, Gus helps so many people through his work with Gotcha for Life, which focuses on men's mental health. And Heinzie, you two have become great mates.
Yeah, we connected the minute we were sat on this couch together, and I find him so incredibly inspirational. But the problem is, like so many people who dedicate their lives to caring for others, Gus sometimes forgets to take care of himself. Now, he's too good a guy for me to let that happen, so I decided to sign him up to a 10-week Heinzie health contract. Check it out. Hey! Hey!
Heinzie!
Give me a hug.
Good on, brother.
Good to see you.
Oh, good to see you too. You're looking good.
Are you ready?
I want to be ready. I'm not sure if I am 100% ready.
We need to be ready.
I know.
I think that's the difference now, is that it's not just wanting, it's needing to do this.
Let's do it, brother. Come on. I've done this before a few times. I've been 145 kilos, back down to under 110. I ran the New York Marathon back in 2014, but I've slowly put weight on over the last 5 years. That's the problem for me. I'm very good at sticking to something for a month, having a bit of a target to shoot for, then all of a sudden I get the target and I go back to all my old bad habits.
Gus, what are we doing here? What is it that's got to this point?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know. It would be easy for me to say, just make something up. But I've got to be honest with you, Heinzie, I really don't know. But the problem is, I'm an emotional eater, I think. I get emotional, good and bad, and I eat. And that's my trigger. And then I'll get to a stage where, you know, I get measured or I jump on the scales for the first time. And that's just the most shattering experience when you see those numbers. So I go, oh, well, it's so bloody bad. What's the point of, you know, fixing it? You know, I'm just going to be big the rest of my life. I know all the right things to do. I read all the books. I've got this wonderful set of people around me that can show me. So why don't I do it? I would love to be able to live the next 30 odd years of my life with all that wisdom and actually stick to it.
What I want to do now is create a contract between us. I want to know 5 things now that you're going to promise me that you won't do for 5 weeks that do derail you. And I already know one of them from when we've chatted, and it's the drive-through. It's the takeaway food.
Yeah.
So no takeaway.
So no takeaway at all? I thought, because you said drive-throughs initially, are we?
You're going to be tougher than I
Yeah, mate, I promise you I'll be the toughest you've ever had.
With that in mind, I'm starting him off gently. Fast food is out, a short meditation is in, and I'm capping his coffee. Now, I think we should have a promise about something to do with movement. All
Yep.
right, so...
Well, I love walking and I love swimming.
Yep.
So I walk at the moment between 20 and 25 kilometres a week.
Yep.
So I can promise you that I'll keep that up.
Yep. Can we add a short walk at night? Just a short one, after dinner.
I just don't know if I've got time to do that.
Okay. What would you normally do after dinner?
Lie on the sofa.
I love it. I didn't know how you'd find time for anything when that's on the cards. Weighing in is always tough. It's the cold, hard reality of where Gus is now and the hard work that is ahead of him.
I mean, I must admit, this is a little bit confronting now because I haven't been on the scales for a long time, and I'm a bit scared of what the number's going to be.
What have you been saying to people for the last kind of year or so when they ask, oh, what are you weighing at the moment?
Yeah, I suppose, you know, around about the 130 mark or something like that, but I always know that I'm probably a little bigger than that in myself. My wife certainly sees me, you know, naked, and she's said, you know, you're the biggest that I can remember you being. I understand it's all coming from a place of love, but it's sort of like, why can't I just be okay the way I am? So that's the...
Do you feel like you're okay the way you are?
I do.
Yeah?
I do. So that's sad, that I can't be just the way that I am. So I need to be healthier for my kids and grandkids coming up. So I have to do this. But why do I do it, and then why can't I handle it and keep making the right choices?
Let's have a look.
There you go. That's the biggest I've ever been.
Can I honestly ask how 146, like...
That's a nightmare, mate.
I want you to imagine that right now, you're me, right? And then someone who's stepping on the scales is actually someone you've been helping with Gotcha for Life. What would you say if you were me? What would you genuinely say?
I'd say there's a lot of hope and we can fix it. We know the ways to do it. We've just got to stick at it. We've just got to keep working at it all the time. Every single day we have to do something different.
I love that.
He's a great man, Gus. We genuinely love him, mate. And well done, Hinesy. I know you were really passionate about taking up the challenge.
Yeah, I found that really emotional to actually watch back, because Gus is a perfect example of someone who knows what he needs to do to maintain good health, but for whatever reason, he just struggles to keep going, and that's the big hurdle that we're going to have to overcome, because you've heard it. He's done it before. Yeah. He can do this, but it's about actually following through. So that's going to be the stumbling block, but we can do it. Let's stick to a plan.
Yeah, and, you know, you're emotional, he's emotional. It's incredible to see how much of our health really is driven by emotion, isn't it?
Yeah, incredibly. I mean, we use emotions as excuses for many different things in our life, especially when it comes to food. We've all emotionally ate. We're talking about the heart today, so we've all eaten when we've had a breakup. So emotions play a huge part, and I think we're going to get there. I can't wait to share this journey with you guys.
That's what I love about the opportunity of this show, to be honest with you, the chance to transform people's lives. Someone like Gus, who's smart, who we love, who does great things. This might be the moment that changes it all for him. Hines, you're going to continue your tough love approach to helping Gus get a healthy heart, healthy mind and body, and we're going to follow that right after the break. Welcome back to the House of Wellness. Before the break, we showed you part one of Hinesy's health makeover of our good friend, Gotcha for Life's own Gus Worland. And Gus was pretty emotional, Hinesy, when he stepped up onto the scales at 146 kilos, Hinesy, and discovered that he's the biggest that he's ever been.
Mate, getting on the scales for anyone is really, really confronting. But one of the many things I love about Gus is his unwavering drive and positivity. I mean, guys, he's run a marathon. He knows what it's going to take. He's a tough egg to crack, but I'm just the man to do it. Mate, love your kitchen, but I think what I love more is to find out what's in your pantry and fridge. So you stay there. Okay. I need to have a little bit of a look in here and what's going on. Okay, pantry. First things which ring alarm bells to me is the fact that you've got easy access to snacks that are going to trip you up. Line of sight at eye height is shortbread cookies, all right? So again, packed full of sugar, refined ingredients. None of these right now, so we're going to have to deal with an alternative that you can have that's not right there at eye height. And then just looking at some of the other shelves, we've got crackers that are easily accessible, we've got all sorts of snacks, packet foods, quick convenience foods, and I think when it comes down to it, that's one of the traps that trips you up, because you're thinking, I'm bored, I'm emotional, I'm hungry, what am I going to have? It's all here. Now, mate, tell me truthfully, how often are we having these types of food?
Every meal of every day.
Every meal?
Yeah.
You're killing me. Because they're just processed, refined. And sugar is the main ingredient, if not in all of these. All right? That has absolutely got to stop. Changing Gus's eating habits isn't going to happen overnight. I'll be swapping the quick fixes for some options that'll help stop the hungries. But it's not just about the food. Gus needs to move. So we're at the beach, not just because it's super pretty, but we're at the beach to do a fitness test. So I'm going to...
Oh, mate, I've just got a little... Oh, my hammy's just a little... Oh.
No, I'm not going to fall for that one. I need to know where Gus's fitness is at so we can work towards a goal of improving it.
I trust the big fella. That's the most important thing. And this, it's, you know, it's point A to point B, right? So I should be able to manage that. And we're setting, you know, a target, you know, it's a benchmark. So something in 10 weeks' time that hopefully I can absolutely smash. So I'll just get into it. It's only a minute.
2, 1, go! Come on, mate. That's it, nice and safe. Just keep you moving right over. 1, fantastic. Keep moving. That's 2, and down. 3, 4, 20-second mark. 6, keep moving, keep moving. 8, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 10. Stop there, mate. How does that feel?
Let's go, all right.
10 and a quarter.
Is that all right?
We'll call it 10 in a minute. When's the last time you moved like that?
I was trying to get to 10, so that was good.
And you did.
Is that, like, I don't know what that is, though, like...
That's fantastic.
Is it all
because
right?
we're not measuring this against anyone else. This is you.
Okay.
In 10 weeks, what's your prediction?
13?
Mate,
Unlucky for some.
let's go for 14. All right.
14 in 10 weeks.
Let's do it.
Thank you, brother.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Should we go to Macca's?
I can.
Great stuff, Hines. I'm going to track Gus's progress over the 10-week program. And I know Hines is putting all the work he can behind the scenes for Gus to reach his goals. It is Heart Research Month. We have Nikki Stamp with us, and now also joining us is an expert in cardiovascular health. Welcome, Professor Martin Uganda. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's a privilege for us to have the experience of 2 heart experts on the couch today. So I'll direct this to both of you. As we just saw with our mate Gus, weight and exercise are a key to maintaining good health, especially regarding the heart. We're big on exercise here. How big a role is that going to play in your overall heart health?
Well, I think exercise is something that's very important for not just our heart health, but our overall health and well-being, including our mental health. But it's sometimes one of the hardest things that we have to do. There are lots of barriers, including feeling like you don't know how to do something or not quite sure where to start. But, you know, any exercise that you can do is very important, particularly when you consider 70% of us don't even meet the bare minimum.
How quickly do you see an impact if people start exercising on the health of the heart?
Oh, that can be easily observed in the hours after the
Really?
exercise, yeah.
Well, shockingly, heart disease kills 1 Australian every 29 minutes. That's 50 people every day. I did not realise that those were the statistics. It is staggering. So, Martin and Nikki, is this the same around the world? Are we better, worse in Australia?
Australia is typical for the Western world. Unfortunately, we try to, often there's a discussion of the acute heart attack, somebody dies suddenly, but there's also the slow killer, the heart failure. Maybe someone had a heart attack or other problems that then led into heart failure where the heart is pumping inefficiently, and that's just as bad as having most cancer diagnoses with regards to survival.
OK, so Nikki, I know that last year we looked at women's heart health with you, which is an area that you specialise in. How do heart symptoms present differently between men and women?
So there's a few things that make women's hearts slightly different to men's hearts. Especially there's a biological difference. So, for example, we see a slightly different pattern of disease in women. We see different symptoms. So women may not get that typical chest pain, which makes it really hard for the woman, as well as her healthcare providers, to pick up that something's going on. And then we have a really big gap in the research. So most heart research has been done on men. So we don't necessarily know that the treatments or the investigations that we have for heart disease, which are getting better all the time, work as well in women. And what this means is that women are more likely to do poorly when they get any kind of heart disease diagnosis. So it's a massive, massive problem.
Martin, this is your area too, and I believe there's some new research coming out. Can you explain what your research team have discovered?
So our research team uses MRI to image the heart. And there we've been able to measure that the blood flow to the heart is consistently higher for women compared to men, but the space between the cells is also consistently higher in women compared to men. And this is something that was a little bit surprising to us. And we're trying to understand what could that be because, and what kind of consequences could that have for health and disease. And now we're going back to the drawing board from the MRI scanner back to tissue samples. We have people who have died of non-heart-related causes, and we have the opportunity to go back to their hearts preserved in the Sydney Heart Bank to see, are there in fact differences on the tissue level between men and women with potential consequences for treatment.
So this is a different kind of MRI, like a high-speed MRI, am I correct?
Very technical.
I'm very,
Yeah, there's a lot of different things one can do with MRI, in
Yes.
particular in the heart. We can do very high-speed imaging, which is a technique we just recently developed, but also we can measure physiological properties, how the heart is functioning, how the blood flow is coming to the heart, how the spaces between the cells, things that we haven't been able to see before.
And what difference does that information make for you?
Well, it gives you diagnosis. Without diagnosis, you don't know what to do with the treatment. And then once you have the treatment, you can revisit that again and follow up the effects of treatment. And that's so essential to understanding disease and knowing that our treatments are doing the good that we hope that they're doing.
And how new is this?
So it's a surprising developmental tsunami that just keeps coming. There's a new wave every year. The brilliant physicists that can reprogram the MRI scanner together with us on the medical side work to develop things. So to measure the blood flow is something that we developed only 2 years ago. Wow. And the high-speed imaging that came out in December. So it's something that's constantly coming, and we're working hard at it.
You're not impressed? Nikki's impressed? If you're not impressed, then,
Honestly, I'm going to hijack the whole show just to talk to him.
if you want some support around heart research, go to our website for more details. Martin, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
From maintaining a healthy heart to avoiding a broken one, up next we look at love and relationships. That's coming up next here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back. We know the all-consuming feeling, Joe, of a new crush or relationship that makes the heart flutter a little bit.
Yes.
What about you? I want to ask you this. Was it love at first sight with you and Daz?
For him, maybe. That's
Oh, Daz.
That's not true. I can remember exactly what he looked like. It's like he's standing right in front of me. So at least it was attraction at first sight for me. I don't know. It was 20 years ago.
I reckon distance does make the heart grow fonder because when we're away from our loved ones, I think that love feeling increases for sure.
Well, here to swipe right on relationships. Welcome back to the House of Wellness, leading sexologist Nikki Goldstein. Hello, Nikki.
Hi.
Nikki, you have worked on a TV dating reality show. So how much do you think these shows and I guess the way we use social media and dating apps, have they changed our expectations of finding love or always looking for the one?
100%, right? If you could take a TV producer who's behind those perfect dates and to create the date night for you and your partner, maybe we wouldn't have any problems. And this is part of the problem, is that we look at those as the benchmark. You know, why doesn't my life look that? Or why can't I find a partner who looks like that? We don't see necessarily the reality of the struggles and compatibility issues. What we see is this projected perfection, which we also see on social media as well. So I do think for a lot of us, we have this very high level of an expectation that maybe we just can't meet when it comes to dating and love and relationships.
So, Nikki, there is a theory of love, though, isn't there? You know, passion, intimacy, commitment. Can you explain us a little bit about that?
Well, I think we all have a different recipe for what love is. You know, if we have a look at arranged marriages, love was something that would happen over time. It was a familiarity. It was about child rearing. So I think, again, like with attraction, you need to work out how you define love. That might mean passion and intimacy. It might mean physical attraction. It might mean that familiarity, that you've been with someone for so long that you share your life with them. Because we really don't have that definition for what love is. So I think what we need to do is empower ourselves to decide, what do we think that love is?
People talk about the 7-year itch, right? But actually, statistically, marriages tend to hit the skids around 12 years. Why is it that figure?
I actually think that when we have a look at the length of a marriage, and people get married, they tend to have children sometimes. When you look at that 12-year mark, everything has settled in. And there might be a mortgage, there might be stress to do with family, you're raising children, that's stressing you out, it might be tearing you apart. So statistically, when we look at that 12-year mark, I think it does really make sense for where life is at. But I think that people shouldn't get too caught up in that. You know, if you find yourself at that 12-year mark, or 12 years, don't freak out that you're going to end up divorced if you've got kids It's in a mortgage. It just happens to be one of the common statistics out there. But I think when we look at life in general these days, which does feel stressful and it does feel like we're being pulled in different directions, it does make sense in someone's lifespan where that might be happening.
But you can fall in and out of love within the one relationship, can't you?
Definitely.
And love changes over the years.
Well, I think it's unrealistic to think that love's going to stay the same the whole time. I'm always hearing people say, well, how do I get that spark back like it was in the beginning where we were tearing each other's clothes off? Well, that was the beginning of the relationship, and the relationship changes. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that that relationship, those connections, that love and intimacy will change over the years, and you need to be careful that you don't have these expectations of what it should be, that you're not actually going with the flow and exploring that new change and what that new connection might be.
So, Nikki, is there a science behind love and lasting relationships? Because I think we would all love to know if that is the case.
Well, unfortunately, love is not enough. And this is one of the sad realities of our society, is that we do see a lot of people split up, we do see a lot of divorces, but it doesn't mean that it's because there wasn't a lack of love. There's this logistical element as well to life, and I think we are given so many options and choices of how we want to live our life these days. And people are exploring that flexibility as well. People are having children and then looking at love that is more of a companionship and thinking, I want passion and intimacy again, and I'm not getting that from this relationship. So I think it's really important to look at there isn't just one necessary solution that's going to be the answer to all our problems, but we need to keep reassessing where we're getting these ideas from and where these expectations really are.
So, Nikki, is romance dead?
When you put it like that, it sounds like it.
I mean, not in my life. I'm very happily married. But, in the world.
I think we're getting romance wrong these days. I feel like it's all about what something looks like. We have a look at how we project, on social media, these proposals that we're seeing shared around online. Is there enough that we're looking back at how it feels, and is that romantic, or is it how someone else perceives it to be romantic? And that's what we need to keep in mind. Are you doing something for someone because you know it means something to them and it's a thoughtful gesture, or does it just look pretty and romantic?
And Nikki, thanks for coming in again. Very enlightening discussion. I want to take
scary.
notes.
I was going to say, was it love at first sight for you and Beck?
Well, it was for me, but I had to work very, very hard.
You see? It's the same thing.
Shish, I love it. Hines, we know you love cooking, but this week you and Gerald take a look at food that is renowned for being an aphrodisiac.
Mate, you got it, Darcy. I want the studio to cue the Barry White music, and we're going to light some scented candles, as this week GQ and I fell even deeper in love with the healing power of nature.
GQ, I absolutely love oysters, so I'm going to show you my favourite recipe today. It is a pink grapefruit, chilli and mint dressing. It is so, so good. But how do you take them?
I like mine very simple, Luke. I'm a simple person. So like that, with just a squeeze of lemon. I'm very happy with that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with going simple or classic, especially because they're so, so good for us.
Oyster meat is so healthy. It contains amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and particularly vitamin B12, which is important for our nerve endings, selenium, which is an antioxidant, so that actually helps stop the breakdown of our skin cells and it's good for stopping us ageing. But the big thing that oyster meat contains, Heinzie, is zinc.
All right, so I'm glad you brought up zinc because everything I've researched when it comes to zinc is that it's fantastic for healthy sexual function.
Well, it is, but we mainly talk with zinc about sperm health and prostate health. So from a sperm health perspective, we need functionality, motility, structure, and those three things need good levels of zinc. Bear in mind as well, zinc is also important for immune function. It's got some antiviral activities.
Yep.
The World Health Organization tells us that 1 in 3 of us do not have enough zinc in our system.
How do you know?
Well, it's difficult, but you look for the little symptoms of a zinc insufficiency. Wounds that won't heal, cracks in the side of your mouth, dry lips, cracks in your heels, cracks in your skin. The fact that you might be getting more infections than normal normally will make a difference if you take some zinc.
All right, so as delicious as these are starting to look,
yes,
for those that are deficient in zinc, how many of these would you need to be eating?
Dozens and dozens and dozens, but even that would not be enough to get your levels up to where they probably should be if you are short of zinc. So that's why a capsule is very important.
Well, mate, I love them, so I'll be taking oysters no matter which way they come.
I'm with you.
The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Go Healthy. the superior supplement for healthy energy and vitality. Try New Zealand's #1 premium supplement, now available in Australia.
Welcome back, Heinzie. We've had the discussion many times about the benefits to our health and the environment by cutting back on eating red meat. Now, Nikki, we've got you with us. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there are some health benefits to reducing our meat consumption, and anytime we eat more plants, more veggies, that's always a good thing. But you don't have to do it in order to achieve physical health. Of course, then we've got the environmental sort of impact, and I think that that's really important to some people, or the ethical side of things. You know, it is something that has all of those benefits. But if you're going to go down that route, 1, you don't have to. 2, you don't have to name it. And 3, if you do, make sure you're getting some guidance, because there are some important nutrients that people who adopt a vegan diet, particularly if they do it, you know, straight off the bat, full ball out at first, then they can need a little bit of guidance on some nutrients they might be missing out on.
Well, every time you mention red meat, my mouth waters.
Need a tissue, Joe.
Well, because I have switched to a mostly plant-based diet, and I miss my steaks. I love them, but I've chosen to go down this path, and I know, Heinzie, you're all about getting more of us eating more plant-based diets, and I know that vegetarianism is on the rise in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys know that my most recent book is plant-based, and that was try to encourage more people, whatever it is that you are, whether you're vegan, veggie, a reducitarian, just get more veggies.
Flexitarian is what I call myself.
I love it. Now,
flexible.
look, while strict vegans still represent a relatively low percentage of the population, around 1 in 3 Aussies are now either vegetarian or actively reducing meat. So it can be more sustainable for the planet and has a host of great flow-on effects for your health. But if you do make the decision to swap the steak and sausages for fresh fruit and veggies, it's vital you still get all your necessary nutrients. How? Take a look.
It's important to me to maintain my healthy lifestyle. If I feel good, I'm happy. If I'm feeling like my diet slipped or I've been drinking too much, I'm not getting like my sleep's out of whack, then I'm just, it sort of makes you feel a bit depressed. So it's probably like my key priority is feeling healthy.
Matt Porluck has always been health conscious, but his decision to become a vegan had more to do with his heart. The romance kind.
Like, I've spent a bit of time overseas, met different people with different diets, and I've always experimented with my diet as well. First tried pescatarian, that was for a girl. Moved back to Melbourne, I went back to sort of a regular diet for a while, and then, because of another girl, switched to vegan. I think I more gave it a go because the health benefits that she sold it to me. I've got a lot more energy than I used to have. I don't have those lethargic feelings you get after you have a big steak or a big meal.
I think people are definitely becoming more conscious of their health. There's an amazing conversation in the health space about understanding where you're shopping, maybe who you're supporting, and understanding quality more than anything. So 4 serves a week of
Nutritionist Steph Lowe has many clients switching to the vegan diet and can certainly attest to the health benefits, if done correctly.
To maintain your health without animal products, it's really important to build your plate properly. So think of non-starchy veggies like our green vegetables, but it's really important to also eat the rainbow from vegetables like carrots and capsicum and cauliflower. And you want 2 cups per meal.
Obviously, I don't cook like steaks or like necessarily proteins anymore, so it's sort of a lot more just sort of bowls, just brown rice and vegetables mixed in, and then a lot of avocado. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily any more time-consuming. If anything, I'll eat a lot more just raw vegetables as well.
Steph and Matt agree. It's important not to fall into the trap of removing animal products without a substitute.
Don't just drop your animal products without thinking of how you can replace those, the nutrition you get from them. You'll lose weight very quickly, sure, and you might feel good for a little while, but in the long term, it's not going to be healthy for you.
The biggest nutrient that vegans can be potentially deficient in is B12. So we know that vitamin B12 only comes from animal products. So we're looking at things like grass-fed meat and free-range eggs. There is no plant-based alternative of B12, and so I believe it's non-negotiable that a vegan would supplement with B12.
So if you're considering switching to the vegan lifestyle,
it's quite tempting when you turn to veganism to easily grab a product that's been labelled as veganism or plant-based, but without understanding that nutrient quality. As a vegan, I think it's your responsibility to learn how to build your plate so smartly and then make sure that you're optimising your nutrients and avoiding any risk of deficiency. So if you are going to supplement, you want to make sure that they've been thoroughly researched and that they are certified vegan to make sure that that's complementing your dietary choice.
and whatever happened to Matt's romantic inspiration for turning vegan?
I've been a vegan for about 6 months now, and that diet's lasted longer than that relationship did.
Well, there's plenty more still to come as we get the insider's view on playing AFLW from one of the game's greats. That's coming up next, right here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back. There's never been a better time for women's sport in this country. Tennis world #1 Ash Barty is a superstar, was named Young Australian of the Year. Surfer Sally Fitzgibbons also hit world #1 in 2019. The Matildas keep going from strength to strength, and the list goes on, Joe.
Oh, it's right, Das. The Women's Cricket T20 World Cup kicks off in a couple of weeks and the AFLW is already underway for 2020. So what better time to catch up with a true trailblazer of the game, Melbourne's Meg Downey.
My whole, I guess, childhood was just growing up kicking the footy around with the boys usually. So I was around 8 years old when I started dreaming of playing in the AFL.
Not the easiest dream to achieve, given that the AFL Women's League was still 20 years away from becoming a reality. But as the only female footy player in her small hometown, Meg Downey was used to tackling new ground.
It was a very male-dominated world and there was a lot of resistance. There was not an easy journey for her.
I was labelled the girl in the league. That's what they sort of used to refer to me as because I was the only female. So, yeah, but in the end I quite liked the name, the girl, so.
For a few great years, Meg was having a ball until she was forced to leave the boys' league when she got to high school.
It was very, very sad. She hated hanging up those boots, but she had to. There was nowhere for her to go.
It was really disappointing for me. I mean, I also played a lot of basketball, but for me, footy was where my passion really lied. So it was just something that I had to accept, and there was no girls' leagues anywhere that I could play in as a kid. So unfortunately, I had to hang up the boots at the ripe old age of 12.
It wasn't until she moved to Melbourne for uni that Meg finally pulled on the boots again for the women's VFL. But nothing could prepare her for what was to follow.
The call to play for Melbourne was one of the happiest moments of my life. I just broke down into tears, like I couldn't hold it in, and yeah, it was just so much emotion, so much happiness, so much pride.
It was just her biggest dream to ever come true. She just never gave up on it, always continued to fight for something that wasn't there.
I remember the first training and just how excited everyone was, and we're lucky enough to kids to look up to us and think we can be that person one day, and we never got that opportunity. So I think as a league that draws the players together.
White sends the kick forward. Downey was taken out of the contest by Casey.
Meg's resilience was put to the ultimate test in her second game, playing for the Demons.
I was knocked out partway through the game and I suffered quite a severe concussion. I was put into a neck brace and stretched off the ground. It was quite scary. I guess that was probably the one word that I'd used to describe it.
With a ruptured hamstring and serious post-concussion symptoms, Meg didn't return to the field for another year. But since then, she's become Melbourne's standout defender.
It's helped me grow into a better person and athlete. I'm just a lot more cautious when I approach a contest now. If I ever have to pick up the ball, I'll try my best to never go in head first. I always make sure I use my hips and protect my head. So it's definitely taught me to play footy in a different way.
Kick towards half forward again. Meg Downey up in front, takes the mark.
Through a football career full of highs and lows, Meg's family have been her most committed cheer squad right from the get-go.
I'm very thankful that, you know, I had my family behind me to support me and say, do whatever you're passionate about and follow your heart.
Downey will arrive late, forced a contest against Martin and then buries her in the tackle.
I love seeing her be the role model that she is. She is always talking to the girls on the team. She treats them as equals her, whether they're junior or... And the kids love her. They yell her name out, and she's just a perfect role model for such a responsible position. And I just think, oh, good girl. I'm very proud of her.
High kick back to the wing. Courage going back with the flight. Thundering through Meg Downey. Well played.
I've faced a lot of failures and I've faced more setbacks than I can count. Probably the message that I would give anyone that's aspiring to achieve anything in life, whether that's setting up a business or having a family or being a professional athlete, it's about picking yourself up, dusting yourself off when those difficult moments happen and those setbacks happen, and bettering yourself and learning from those moments is how you continue to grow and push forward and push closer to where you want to be.
She's a star, Meg Downey, no mistake about that. Nikki, you're a great champion of more female surgeons like yourself. It's brilliant to see the pathway through AFLW footballers now. Do you follow a team?
I do, and I feel like it's going to be a bit controversial, but I'm a West Coast supporter. It's even more controversial in my family because my brother's a Collingwood supporter. So I did a bit of gloating a couple of years back.
Sure.
Yeah, very controversial way to finish a show.
Yeah, absolutely. Dropped a real bomb.
So, do we welcome all types here?
We do, yes.
we do.
Very inclusive. That's the show for this week. Nikki, thanks so much for spending some time with us on the couch.
My
We really
pleasure.
appreciate it. Great to have you part of the team. Head to the website houseofwellness.com.au. Make sure you get the info and the lift out in your local newspaper with Steph Claire Smith on the cover. Tune into the House of Wellness radio show every Sunday. And as always, thanks to our good friends at Chemist Warehouse. We'll see you next time.